Number 4. Society and public influences upon music of the church. If words like Jesus and heaven were in a song, does that make it secular? And should we use it in worship? Let's discuss that. If we use religious words like Jesus or heaven in a song, does that make it secular? And should we use it in a worship service?
Not necessarily. Hollywood does that. That doesn't make it sacred by any stretch of imagination.
Anybody else have any feelings or comments about it? There's a book that I want to recommend for your reading. And it's this book called Fast Food Nation. And it's written by Eric Schlosser, S-C-H-L-O-S-S-E-R. And it's on the New York Times bestseller list. But I'd like to, you might wonder, well, now what in the world's church music got to do with fast food? Well, really, it's the California connection. You say, what in the world's California got to do with our worship music? What in the world's it got to do with fast food? Well, fast food started in California. Robert Schuller, the Crystal Cathedral, some of you remember back in the early 70s about drive-in worship, where he would buy up a drive-in and people could come into the drive-in and have worship service. Of course, that fizzled out, and he was able to build a pretty nice church. So there's been a lot of interesting things to happen from California. Look at the back of the Purpose-Driven Church. I just found this kind of interesting because we're analyzing things here today. Look at the very back cover. Dr. Rick Warren is a founding pastor of Saddleback Church. Well, that immediately tells me it's a non-denominational church. In Lake Forest, where? California. Well, that's interesting. But I want you to also look, you know, we talked about the publishers wanting to control the copyright use of even Bible scriptures. That same publisher if you look in the front of the book, let's see if I can find the page here. Look on the 3rd page in front of the book. And look at the bottom of the 3rd page. It has the Purpose-Driven Church. Look at that page. It's the 3rd page from the very front, not page 3. If you look at the bottom, you see who the publisher is? Okay, that's the same one that I referenced earlier. I find it very interesting that they also like to publish books. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just the intent that concerns me. This book says that this is an industry that both feeds and feeds off the young. This is a quote from this book, Fast Food Nation. It goes on to say that the key to a successful franchise, according to many texts on the subject, can be expressed in one word. Can you think of what that one word would be? Uniformity. One word, uniformity. That's what the fast food business concentrates on. Franchises and chain stores tries to offer or strive to offer exactly the same product or service at numerous locations. Customers are drawn to familiar brands by an instinct to avoid the unknown. A brand offers a feeling of reassurance. when its products are always and everywhere the same? The industry is flourishing, and music can attract large numbers of people. Certainly one could argue the point that music helps one feel better, and almost assuredly can almost help one to feel worse. Herein lies the dilemma of popular music choices versus non-popular choices. Should a musical rating system dictate our choices for good church music? One religious publisher stated a song's popularity this way in the year 2000. The song has constantly been ranked in the top 20 songs rated by Christian Copyright Licensing Incorporated, that's CCLI, the company that monitors and reports licensing transactions for Christian hymns. The song appears in many hymnals of the major Christian denominations, including hymnals of the Baptist, Methodist, and Nazarene religions. The song has been one of the most singular, most popular Christian hymns, and is one of the most popular gospel songs in major denominations in the past 2 decades. Man, it makes it sound like that song can just move millions of people to Christ. We cannot escape the fact that the sacred parts of our lives are influenced by copyright laws, popular music rating systems, entertainment values, and at times weak, fragile, and even secular substitutions for worship. During a brief period of time, the religious music industry has sought to establish uniformity, a franchise marketing concept, if you please, that has helped to transform not only the meaning of worship, but also our definition as denominations. Then the money given, the staffing, and the entire Christian experience. I want to close today, and hopefully we'll have time for a couple of questions and comments. In 1964, 40 years ago, I knew this person whose father was music director for one of the largest Southern Baptist churches in Middle Georgia at that time. Upon visiting their home one day, I was approached by him. I understand you play in church. Would you play something for me? I sat down at their piano and played Amazing Grace. I love that hymn. With great fervor and expression, and utilizing the keyboard to its fullest. When I finished, he said, "You could never play like that at our church. You have to play only what is written." This was the accepted view of the Southern Baptist denomination in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. Immediately at that very moment, a light burst forth in my mind, and I realized that such churches would have to change their views of music to assure future growth and interest in their music services, because music was changing, and the importance of music in the church was changing. That same church today changed their stiff view of music, and has recently completed in 2005 a new sanctuary that seats 2,600 people, with a choir that seats 180 people with an orchestra. And my son plays in that orchestra. Now, I am the son of a Baptist minister who built 3 churches in his lifetime, in this lifetime, and I was the music director, musician, song leader, and every other title of music you can name. The last church we built together as father and son was in the same Middle Georgia town as the previous church I mentioned, but it was a missionary Baptist denomination. Just 5 years ago, they completed their new sanctuary that seats around 2,400 people. That was 5 years ago. Now their membership has exploded to near 4,000 members, and they are doing 3 services a Sunday on special days like Easter, Christmas, and those type days during the year. On Easter Sunday in 2004, they had 3,600 people in attendance. They now, folks, are looking to build again. And the new sanctuary is only 5 years old. It was the missionary Baptist who first embraced lively music in its worship long before the Southern Baptists realized that they must change. Songs such as Victory in Jesus were borrowed from the Pentecostal publication entitled the Church Hymnal. Some people refer to it as the Red Book because you could only buy it in one color. Long before the Southern Baptists would ever think of using such a song in their worship services. It eventually entered Baptist worship after the Brahman hymnal was converted to the Baptist hymnal in the early 1980s. What is happening throughout the entire United States is mirrored in these two churches that I've mentioned. Along with the burst of growth and change has come new and in some cases serious problems facing the church. Please understand, this is an American problem. But then again, denominationalism is an American product. No country in the world has experienced such a, pardon the expression, smorgasbord of religious choices to pick from. And based on that dilemma is where the issues concerning music in the church rest. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Rick Warren in the Purpose-Driven Church is wrong. If we don't have sacred music in the church, then we definitely are destined to worldly folly.